guess what? We are back. It's another episode and another season of Varsity 360. I'm Columbian sports editor Micah Rice, joined once again by Meg Wochnick for the first episode in what is the best season of the year, in a lot of respects, the high school football season.
It is. Every year it's something that we look forward to, and I know there's so many fans, coaches, and athletes looking forward to it too. Like I've said for years now, there are 4 seasons in high school sports: your fall, winter, spring, and then football season. So things got going back on Wednesday, and things are looking really good. I'm excited for this 2025 season.
Yeah, there's a lot of storylines, a lot of activity. We've been hopping out to practices here on the Columbian 360 Prep sports staff. But before we get into this first episode here, a big special thanks to First Pacific Financial. We are back in the renovated First Pacific Financial studios. So thank you to them for supporting the show, for supporting high school athletics, and for supporting the community at large. But we're going to do 2 things in this episode. Number one is kind of look back on a special project you've been doing throughout the summer, Dog Days. It's a video project that you can find on the 360 Preps YouTube channel. It concludes this Sunday with the final of 6 episodes. You've basically been embedded with 3 high school football programs through the summer, really gotten a behind the scenes look into how those programs operate, how those coaches sort of mold young men and get them ready, not just for the season, but for life. But then after that, we're going to go ahead and do 4 bold predictions for the upcoming season, which is always fun. But let's talk about Dog Days. Before we kind of get more into what it is and what you learned, tell me kind of the origin story of it. When did you first get the idea to spend the summer really embedded with these 3 high school programs?
Yeah, so it actually started back in the spring. It was after I did a big story and what ultimately turned into a video project as well on recently graduated Prairie Star athlete Faith Tarrant, who became the 23rd wrestler all-time to win 4 state titles. And I kind of went behind the scenes with her. I went to school with her. I hung out with her and her friends at lunch and went to a few classes. And I put together about an 8 to 9 minute video kind of showcasing her and her personality and her as ASB president to really show readers and viewers just who she is, more than just a student and more than just an athlete, is really a leader of the school. And I thought, well, how can we expand on it and expand on something like this and this show and its popularity, especially during the fall football season? And I thought, well, why not spend the summer where it's not as much time consuming for us. We've got a lot more time on our hands than we do during the 9 months of the school year. And so why don't we kind of go behind the scenes? And I think 3 teams is the perfect number. And I wanted something that was more than something that would be easy, like let's just pick 3 teams that were the reigning league champions, or picking the 2 teams that played for state titles. That would be easy. I wanted unique storylines going into these teams. I wanted unique programs that had a number of characters, whether it was Division I athletes, whether it was those kind of bringing in a new class of kids, and obviously you got an array of coaches at these 3 schools. So Evergreen, the reigning league champions of the 3A GSHL, first league title in 17 years. And Coach Christian Swain going into his 8th season, I thought, this would be a really good kind of starting point, given the personnel with a couple of Division I kids that we'll get to a little bit later in this show. The next one was La Center. I think you look around this region and they are what makes small town football great. And the one and only John Lambert, longtime head coach, going into his 27th season, and kind of what makes this program shine year in and year out, regardless of the personnel. And then the last one, I kind of floated about, well, where do we go? Do we go 4A? Do we kind of keep it small schools? And I thought about, what about a program like Hockinson, which is just a couple of years removed from its reign as kind of the kings of 2A football around this area, that came with a couple of state championships a handful of years ago, and they now have a brand new head coach, the youngest head coach in the region. And what was great is all 3 of these coaches were completely on board with this project, and it wouldn't have happened without their cooperation and really their trust with me coming in and spending countless days behind the scenes, whether it was going to team camp, whether it was hanging out with them in the weight room multiple times, early morning weights, late night workouts, just really getting to know these kids and showing that high school sports is more than just a seasonal sport. It really is a year-round thing nowadays. So it was a fantastic project, really proud of the work, and I'm very grateful for these coaches, athletes, and administrators giving me full control for what I put out there for the viewers.
Well, the response from what we've heard from the people watching the show and the people involved in the project has been fantastic. And I want to ask you about what that process was like doing a video project, because I don't need to tell you, but certainly there have been quite a few changes, not only in local media, but just how we tell stories. You and I have both been doing this long enough where we've seen the progression from the old school print newspaper to, publishing stuff online and having a website that we run, to now doing what we do here with video, whether it be game highlights or interviews. But this was the kind of the next level. You're there at practice. I love the footage you got from practices and from the weight rooms. It really, you see the energy, you feel the hits when they happen. And just what was that like, kind of being there with, fly on the wall with the camera while 300-pound young men and footballs are flying all around you?
Yeah, I mean, it really was. I mean, yeah, I even took a couple of shots during filming, and, and they were completely my fault, 100% my fault, all three of them. But yeah, it really was a unique experience. And I think what got me also excited about this project was getting out of what's traditionally been a standard comfort zone for us as far as the print product, and doing storytelling in a new way, and really getting behind the scenes and showing who these kids are. And it's more than just the typical X's and O's in a playbook of football, just showing who they are in unique ways. And I got to know these kids on such a personal level that there were so many of them. By, I would say, probably 3 or 4 weeks in, were 20 or 25 of them would just come up and say, "Hey, Meg, how's it going?" Or, "Hey, thanks for being here. We really appreciate it." And I think the thing that stuck out for me the most was just how comfortable these kids were with a stranger, more or less, having a camera, sometimes two, in their faces at any given time. They were completely natural about it. No one felt nervous. No one was uncomfortable. They quickly put up their hands when I asked for volunteers to wear the wireless mic. And so that was something that I really wasn't expecting, but I think that's also a kudos to this generation of teenagers who are used to having their phones all the time, used to YouTube, and used to being filmed, quite honestly, all the time.
Yeah, I was just about to say that, because, there's something cool about the energy of high school kids. I have two daughters, 19 and 16, so I, seen them come up through with their friends and kind of the ridiculous stuff where I'm just like, what is up with these kids today? But there's something just infectious about the energy that, especially a group of athletes brings when they're together. And one of the things early in the series, I think it may have been episode 2, that struck me is when you went to camp. With you're there. I think this one was down at George Fox or one of the ones in Oregon, and you're there at the table when the Hockinson players are literally having a verbal throwdown about what the best fast food or chicken is.
Yeah, it was the offensive line, probably no surprise. Yeah, having a very heated debate on if it's Chick-fil-A or Popeyes is the better of the two, and they had some very interesting opinions, and maybe some did not go according to their offensive line coach as well. But, and that's the thing, is they were so comfortable having these conversations, and it didn't matter if I was there or not. They were going to have them. They weren't going to stop having their conversations, regardless what the topic was. And so it was just really neat to see those personalities shine, and to have really kind of a different relationship than the reporter-athlete relationship that we've been accustomed to for as long as we've done this in our careers.
It wasn't all hijinks and fun. One of my favorite episodes was the one most recent before this season finale, and that was one titled Obstacles. Through you being present and earning the trust not only of the kids but also of the coaches, I got to think most teams have one or two kids that have an interesting backstory and certainly have overcome a few things. And I thought the content in the obstacles episode was just top notch, showcasing not only a kid at La Center who has come through some really trying circumstances, but a coach at Evergreen who's on a weight loss journey, who's working every day just as hard as those kids to be better.
And that's what makes our job so great, is it's more than just the games, right? It's the people who play them. Mm-hmm. And so that was something that I really wanted to capture with this series is, like I said a few minutes ago, just it's not just footage of practice and running through drills and incorporating plays in the playbook. I mean, that's okay. I can only do so much of that, but who are these kids and what are the stories that people want to know about them? And so I was very grateful for Johnny Linstroth at La Center, a kid who's been in foster care for a little over 2 years now, and also Alex English at Evergreen, who has lost approaching 300 pounds and still has a bit of ways to go, he said, to get to a point where he feels healthy, not only enough for his kids that he coaches, but also his 4 boys at home as well. And so those are just a couple of the great human beings that I was very grateful to meet this summer, and very blessed for them to trust me to tell their story.
And as the series comes to a finale with the final episode this Sunday, what did you learn, not only about what it takes to tell a story in a different medium, but what did you learn about kind of what makes these programs and these coaches and these kids tick?
Yeah, I think maybe the biggest takeaway for me is just it goes really beyond football. And we hear it all the time about how sports teaches character, and coaches are there as kind of that father figure. And some of the conversations I overheard and some of the meetings with the head coaches and the kids taking a knee after a practice, it was some really touching words and really touching moments that you wished parents could hear, you wished your fan base could hear. And some of those clips were in some of the episodes that appeared as well, but it just reinforces what high school sports is all about. It's more than the wins and losses. And I think Christian Swain said it perfectly. Look, when you're a young head coach, you think, all right, here's my blueprint to win multiple state championships. And now he's in his 18th season at his 3rd school, and he's gotten a bit older, now approaching 50. He's kind of changed his tune about what makes coaching important to him. And it's not about the wins and losses. That's a part of the goal, but it's about making how the kids graduate, making sure they have a 3.0 and making sure that they're set up for success beyond high school, but having the 4 years at high school football Evergreen be a big factor in that.
Well, I can't tell you how many times probably you and myself have come across an adult, whether it's a former player or a coach, who shares a story like, I might not be here if it wasn't for a coach taking a chance on me. I was 16, I was doing dumb stuff, I was directionless, I didn't really have any mentors, and it was that coach who kind of became either that father or in some cases that mother figure, and really got me to be the adult who I am now. And I think that's one of the elements that struck me about the series, is being in those rooms, seeing the team meetings and also the one-on-ones you got with the coaches, that really that is a part, not only fostering that environment individually so they can be that sort of mentor, but having that culture and that climate be there where a kid feels like he or she can open up.
Right, and you mentioned the culture aspect. I mean, I saw it through and through with a program like La Center and someone like John Lambert, who's been there since 1999 and himself approaching a milestone when it comes to career wins. And we see that with Christian Swain, and we're starting to see that already with Ben Nelson, even though he's only been hired since early February. He was hired at 29, he's now 30, but he's been around the game so much and been coaching across multiple schools and multiple sports that he is starting very quickly to build those culture and expectations in a Hockinson program, even though he's only been there a few short 5 months.
All right. Tell people how they can find not only the upcoming season finale, but all previous episodes of Dog Days.
Yeah, they're up at Columbian.com under our high school sports homepage, and you can also view them on 360 Prep's YouTube channel. There's a complete playlist with all 6 episodes. And I think the biggest question I've received from outsiders is, will there be a season 2? We don't know yet, so we'll have to find out. So let's get through the 25 fall football season first, and then we'll kind of circle back once the off season hits. But there's a lot of people hoping for a season 2 with 3 new teams to showcase.
Well, that's a perfect segue, because we do have the 2025 high school football season at our doorstep, and there's plenty to talk about. But one of my favorite things to do going into a season is get a little wild with the predictions. We don't know what's going to happen. We're constantly every year proven wrong in some cases, but every now and then we get proven right with some of our preseason forecasts. But we're going to go a little out on the limb with something that you have fun with every year on this program, which is some sort of out, I wouldn't say off the wall, but bold predictions.
You know, you can't go big, you gotta go bold in these situations. Yeah, so we got 4 predictions, 4A through 1A. I'm gonna start with 4As. Given Camus's success last year, given the personnel that they have, I am going to go bold prediction number 1. Camus will make a return appearance to the state semifinals. Again, I think given what Camus accomplished last year, the tremendous senior class, getting to the state championship game and losing in such a heartbreaking fashion in what still, after 50 years of state title games, there has never been a title game across any classification in Washington that has ended the way that the Camus and Sumner game last year ended in regulation with a game-winning field goal by Sumner. But there is a lot to like about not only the returners with this Camus team, but also a couple of newcomers. And when you graduate a player like Jake Davidson as the Gatorade State Player of the Year and leaves with a number of school records, you're going to get a lot of interest from other quarterbacks and their parents. And so there are not 1 but 2 new quarterbacks at Camus. I'll start with the new one from Coeur d'Alene. It's Tyler Ruggiero. He is a 6'4" lefty. I love the way the ball comes out of his hands. He came in just before spring break back in the spring, transferring in to Southwest Washington. And he's already very accustomed to Adam Matheson's offense. Not easy to do, especially in a short amount of time, but he really reads the defense well and really kind of taking control of this offense. And the other kid coming in, he's a junior from Emerald Ridge. His name is Ben Druckman. He started all 9 games for Emerald Ridge last year in a league that produced the eventual state champions in Class 4A. So this is the kid that kind of showed up in the middle of the summer. And so talking with Adam Matheson, the head coach now, how is he going to utilize both of these quarterbacks? I'm not going to reveal that here, but let's just say that both of these guys will see time on the field. I think 2 guys returning for Camus that I'm really excited about. Number 1 is Thor Brody. He had a great sophomore season, and I think he's going to be one of the more versatile players, not just in Southwest Washington, but across the state. He was an all-camp honoree at Linfield back in June, not just in the receiving corps, but also the running game. So he's a big, bruising kind of a back, and he's tough to tackle. So you get him out in open space and he can really showcase his speed. The other kid is Zuko Lopez. Had an absolutely monster year for the defense across from Luke Webb at the other DN spot, but he's moved into that inside linebacker spot in Dan Kilty's 3-4 defense. And so it just really shows his athleticism and just overall speed and strength. And I think he's going to have a monster year after having 11 sacks last year in 14 games.
Well, I like the prediction. Just to be clear, you haven't tipped me off to any of these predictions, so I'm giving you my real-time reaction. You predict that Camus gets back to the semifinals, but is there a chance they might even get to the finals?
Oh, there's always a chance. Yeah. I think right now there's a host of other teams statewide that a lot of teams and a lot of coaches are really high on. Number 1 is Lake Stevens, just a year or 2 removed from a back-to-back state title run. A couple teams on the east side, Chihuahua, the Tri-Cities, a lot of talent, a lot of returners, a lot of senior-driven team, and also Gonzaga Prep. They return almost everybody from last year's semifinal team, the same team that Camus beat in the semis at McKenzie Stadium. So is there a chance? Yes. I think if you polled 4A and 3A coaches across the state, it is much easier to have a deep deep postseason run in 4A football than it is in 3A. Find me a coach who doesn't believe that's true.
Yeah.
So is there a path? Yes. I think their schedule is fantastic. Once again, 7 of their 9 opponents reached the state playoffs in their respective states, and 3 of them reached at least the state semifinals, including reigning Oregon 6A champion Westland, coached none other by John Eagle, who announced earlier this summer that this is going to be his final season coaching high school football as a head coach. So another tough schedule, but Camas wouldn't have it any other way.
That's exactly right, because Camas, if they don't like a challenge, they don't like anything at all.
Exactly.
So, all right, I like that prediction. Camas, another deep run, and they certainly seem like they have the personnel to possibly do that. But let's go on to your second bold prediction.
Yeah, second bold prediction, we're going to go slide down to the 3As. As great of a season as Evergreen had, like I mentioned at the top of the show, first league title in 17 seasons, this is the year for Evergreen to break through and win a playoff game. It hasn't been happening in Evergreen in 21 years. In fact, you got to go back to the 2004 undefeated state championship team for the program's last playoff victory, and they beat Skyline that year 28-14 to cap an undefeated season led by Cale Pyland as head coach. But everything that I've seen this summer for Dog Days and everything that is returning for Evergreen just tells me that this is the year for them to really take that next step. And there have been a couple of seasons of late where we were very high on Evergreen, and things as the season progressed just didn't materialize in their favor. But I think if they stay healthy, they definitely have the personnel, and it starts with their quarterback, Jaden Baum, who I think has a very good chance to maybe lead this area in passing during the regular season, right? He was just one of 5 ninth graders to start at quarterback across 3A football in the state. He's a 2,000-yard passer, 21 touchdowns, and he's got a pretty good receiving core led by Terrence Sarion, the BYU commit. He's a kid that can run any route on the route tree, just tremendous speed, and when you're one-on-one coverage, I mean, good luck. You have absolutely pretty much no chance when it's a one-on-one with that kid. And another one to watch too is Darren Schmidt at tight end. He's an Arizona commit, someone who's really transformed his body in the offseason, and he's also going to start at outside linebacker. So you got a 6'5", 240-pound linebacker coming at you. It's pretty big. But I think the thing that I appreciated getting to know Jaden Baum more on a personal level is he really took it upon himself to make this offseason molding himself to be a better quarterback, not just for himself personally, but for his team, because he knows it. Last year at this time, before week 1 against Union, he weighed 238 pounds. He's now around 200, 205, and he looks really, really good. And I asked him about why this transformation, why now? And he said that, he's basically looked at as a lineman who can throw a football, and he doesn't want to be seen as that. And so he wants to be mobile for his team. He wants to be able to be a guy who can extend plays. And looking at him right now, he looks really, really good. I think he's going to have a breakout year.
Well, I'm excited to see this Evergreen team because you mentioned Jaden Baum. I think those of us who watched him last year were amazed that a freshman would be in that position, but always kind of was like, okay, he's extremely talented, but a little raw. I think you're going to see way more polish this year.
It is, and he's really kind of taking ownership of the leadership role that you need in your quarterback. It's easy for a ninth grader at quarterback to kind of just be behind the scenes a little bit, maybe be a little bit more soft-spoken. But that was something that Christian Swain really kind of highlighted as far as his off-season growth, is really not only taking command of this offense and kind of taking that next step, but really showing that leadership showcase. And you could see it countless times in my visits to the weight room, where there were upwards of 50 guys in there early in the morning. He would be there kind of leading the charge, leading the way. So it's great to kind of see that leadership from him for a kid that will be still 15 years old throughout the entire fall football season.
Oh, kids, they're so young. But before we move on to the next one, I just think we got to talk a little bit about Terrence Sarion, just because I think if you're going out, if you're just a neutral fan and you want to pick a game, and I would say your best chance of seeing something really special on any given play will be watching Terrence Sarion on Evergreen. I think if we were to compile a list of the top 10 catches when the season is done, he'll have a couple on there.
A couple? He might have 7 out of the 10, the way that kid's play receiver. But he is a very special talent, about 5'10", and another guy that really kind of honed in on his body really this offseason. And he's really not going to leave the field. I think of the strengths that Evergreen has. It starts with his offensive line. But something to keep an eye on is there's not a whole lot of depth with this year's team. And so there's going to be a lot of guys, including Terrence, who's going to go both ways. He'll also be a corner. But he's also a tremendous return guy. And so you don't want to put too much on a kid like that. But also you don't want to have a kid like that not be on the field because of the plays that he can make. And so if you do have a chance, please come out to McKenzie Stadium or a nearby opposing stadium, because he is definitely a very, very special player and one that you'll want to watch before his season and career comes to an end.
All right. Well, bold prediction number 2, Evergreen wins a playoff game, which I think certainly with their personnel that they're entering the season, they're as set up as they have been certainly in decades to accomplish that. All right. Bold prediction number 3, what you got?
Keep going down. We're going to do the 2As now. And the last couple of years, the 2As have been completely wide open. 3 different schools have been crowned a league title. And while I still think it's going to be kind of up in the air, maybe 3 teams could be fighting for that league title spot, I think the surprise team in the league and possibly the region is going to be Hockinson. This is a senior class that has not had a winning season. And like I said earlier, this is a Hockinson program that has a lot of success, and it had it more recently. Up until 2021, they were the 8-time reigning league champions, which included back-to-back 2A state titles in 17 and 18. But this is a team, and especially a senior class, that is really hungry and really motivated. And the thing about Ben Nelson, when he came in and got to work as far as learning his team and the personnel, he was quick to make a very big change. And he is running what's called the slot T offense. And it's basically the stepchild of the wing T, a lot of misdirection. It allows teams to control the clock and really utilizing on the strengths of what they have, which is their offensive line. They've got 2 guys who are returning, soon to be 3-year starters, Keegan McAfee at tackle and Jaden Sheffield, their starting center. And they've also got 4 or 5 guys who can be a 100-yard ball carrier any given night. And so this is a team I think is going to really, really surprise a lot of people. They averaged 10 yards per carry during scrimmages at team camp at George Fox, and they got a lot of rave reviews from a number of opposing coaches, not just locally, but even out-of-state teams that were up at George Fox for that camp. So it's a unique offense. We all know that 95% of teams now run the spread, and so talking with a number of 2A coaches in the league, they're already kind of looking at film of how they can kind of get prepared for Hockinson now, and I think that's a credit. And the respect, knowing that when you face Hockinson, you're going to face something that's a little bit different.
Well, I love the contrarian aspect of it. Good old-fashioned running the ball. I think when Columbia River and Hockinson, Columbia River is going to also be kind of a run-heavy offense. You could see maybe a game over in less than 90 minutes if there aren't.
I think when those two get together, I think you got to take, put the spread on the number of pass attempts maybe at 2.5. You got to take the under because I think that's what it's going to be. But I think what I really appreciated is, you hear all the time coaches saying kids are bought in, they buy in. You hear that phrase all the time. It's kind of coach speak and redundant. But it was amazing how quickly these kids bought in. And I asked not only them, but Ben Nelson is how and why they're able to buy in so quickly. And they were completely fine with wanting to be different because they wanted to see a different kind of success. They wanted to flip that script and be on the winning side of ball games. And last year, Hockinson went 1-8 and probably a team not really reflective of their record. They had two losses that were just 3 points apiece to eventual league champion Woodland and runner-up Richfield. So they were definitely better than their 1-8 record showed. But it's amazing to see just how quickly they've adapted to this new style of offense. And yes, they're going to be running the damn ball a lot this fall. So if you like a quick game, you might see a good 2:15 game out of Hockinson.
Smash mouth football. We love it. So the prediction is Hockinson goes from 1-8 to dark horse title contender. And I don't know that I would personally pick Hockinson as my league champion and entering the season. But if the 2A Greater St. Helens League has showed us anything in recent years, is that it is completely unpredictable. And the traditional title contenders, we're talking Ridgefield, Woodland, they both have questions. Ridgefield is putting in a new offense. Woodland, they've been were led by back-to-back league championships by the phenomenal Elijah Anderson, who's now at Idaho State. Who's going to step into those big shoes? So questions and the perennial favorites. My team to watch is Mark Morris.
Absolutely, I agree. A lot of good things coming out of camp is what I've been told, and also my conversations with Coach Peck going into his second season. This offensive line that he's got, they're experienced and they're big. You talk about Woodland, they're really going to rely a little bit more heavily this year on their defense. Coach Glenn Flanagan also still is the DC and has been so since '97. The skill position guys are right now really the strength of Washougal, and they had a really fantastic camp, the same camp that Hockinson did. And of course, you can't forget Ridgefield. They've got 100-plus guys out for football. And, yeah, they're going to the gun tee and expect them to run the ball about two-thirds of the time. And they got a reigning all-league quarterback in Landon DeBeaumont leading the way. But the league gets one fewer playoff spot than they did a year ago. So there's only 3.5 berths in that half, meaning the fourth-place team in the 2A GSHL plays the third-place team up north of the 2A Evergreen Conference, and kind of a mini partial game on that Monday of Week 10. That winner will then advance to Week 10. And so there's probably 5 teams that I would say are definitely worthy of being in the playoffs, but just 4 spots. So we'll have to see in that 8-team 2A GSHL.
Well, the 2A GSHL has been nothing if not entertaining, and I expect the same this year with so many teams that appear to be evenly matched and playing a brand of football that I think is going to be really fun for those of us who like a good old throwback smash mouth type of game.
Absolutely.
All right, last of 4 bold predictions. What do you have?
Yeah, sliding down to the 1As, and I think this prediction, it would be more shocking if it didn't happen. The Week 9 tilt, the schedule makers were very friendly. La Center and Seton Catholic tangoing once again, and the league title will be at stake. It's been that way the past 2 years, with the visiting team taking home the winning honors. Last year was Seton Catholic. After falling down 14-0 before taking an offensive snap, rallying to win 29-21 to capture the program's first league title in football. And when they tango on Halloween night on Seton Catholic's field turf, I think it's going to be another fantastic game. These are 2 teams that have developed a really great rivalry really fast. When you look at Seton Catholic reaching the state 1A title game last year, it starts with Colton Gesser at quarterback, and he's the only one in the region who's going to be a 4-year starter at the most important position on the field. And I don't care what level of football you play. If you have 36 starts under your belt as a high school quarterback, that is saying something. And on the flip side, you got a La Center program that knows what it takes to win, but this year they're going to be a little bit different when you look at the personnel. They're replacing 16 starters and only have 2 returning starters, but one of them is Mason Klein. I think him in that outside linebacker spot, he has a really good chance really to be the front runner for the league's defensive MVP honor. The way he plays the linebacker position, he's fast, he's physical, and he reads the gap so well. He's everything you want in that outside linebacker spot. So La Center's schedule is pretty tough off the bat. They open with Montesano, the team that beat them to end their season in the quarterfinals last year. And then it's Week 3, they go to Napavine, which knows a thing or two about playing for 2B state titles. So I think that September schedule will bode well for La Center once they get to October.
Well, I agree that, yes, La Center and Seton Catholic are the front runners in the Trico headed into the season. We got to get to Week 9, and I think we're going to learn a lot, especially, I think, about Seton Catholic, because last season you had amazing playmakers like Jacob Williams, Joe Kalarami, Riker Ruelas, Lance Lee. They all graduated, and in some cases will be playing on Saturdays here pretty soon. I talked to Dan Chase recently about his team, and he was like, I'm excited because I don't know who the players are yet that are going to find that opportunity to step up, but I guarantee you some of them will, and you'll be talking about them at that time of the season, even though we can't pinpoint yet who's going to grab that opportunity. But I think a culture has been set at Seton Catholic where now it's not just the expectation to win the Trico, it's not just the expectation to make the playoffs, it's the expectation to make deep runs.
I agree with you, and I think Seton Catholic right now, I would pin them if I had a magical vote, I would probably put them the top team in District 4 for 1A. I think Montesano is right there at number 2. But you're right, there is a certain culture now and a certain expectation. It's kind of not a one-hit wonder per se, but this is a program that now is established, and now people are aware of Southwest Washington small school football in a league that traditionally might not have had the level of success at the state level than other programs such as a Kings or a Cashmere or a Linden Christian have had in the past. So that Week 9 game, though, that's going to be a dandy. Both teams are looking forward to it.
All right. Well, Week 9 will be here before we know it. It always goes so fast, but that's why we need to stop and smell the roses here in, early September when those kids hit the football field for weeks 1, 2, and 3. There's new storylines every week, and we can't wait to see what those are.
Let's get it.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in to Varsity 360. We're going to be back. We hope to do episodes every week with a lot of different topics, interviews, bold predictions, and reflections. So be sure to tune in on 360 Prep's YouTube channel, Instagram. We're even wading into TikTok, if you believe it or not. I'm going to get so many cringy looks from my youngest daughter when I post somewhere on that platform. But be sure to tune in, and we'll see you next time.